Hi everybody, welcome back to the Cupcake Jemma channel with me, Sally. I am back here in the Crumbs and Doilies bakery to bring you a really awesome cake decorating technique video. But before we get on to that, I just wanted to say how amazing were those chocolate and coconut cupcakes that Dane made last week. They were absolutely delicious because I ate quite a few of them, but I know that some of you have also made them at home because you have tagged your photos on Instagram using hashtag CupcakeJemma. So make sure you do that so that we can all see and share your amazing work. And if you've got no idea what the cupcakes I'm talking about are, that's probably because you haven't subscribed to our channel. It doesn't take much, the button is just here. If you subscribe, then it really does help us bring all the amazing videos to you guys, so thank you. So thanks for watching this anyway. Big thanks and massive love to you all. So let's get on with this video, shall we? So as I mentioned, it is going to be for stencils, which are these things, which don't look hugely exciting, but trust me, the cakes are going to be beautiful. You might have seen a few photos of these over on our Bake Club, which is our club for all the cool kids. Every week you can get yourself a downloadable PDF of all the ingredients, instructions and photos of each recipe that we show you here on YouTube. You can get behind the scenes action. We just did our first Ask Me Anything, which was kind of scary, but really, really fun. So if you want to know a little bit more about that, then head to the description box below. Anyway, I promise, that's it. We are gonna get caking. So, before we get to the stencils, I'm just gonna whiz you through a few hints and tips on how to get a really nice sharp and straight cake, because you do want a sharp straight cake for when you're using the stencils so that you get the best effect from it. So I've got here 4 beautifully trimmed and level sponges. I'm just gonna go for a vanilla sponge this time. I say just. Sometimes I think there's nothing better than a vanilla cake with buttercream and jam. And I've got myself a board here, and as usual, we're going to stick our first layer with a little bit of buttercream. So grab your first piece of sponge. I just like to drop it on lightly, make sure it's in the middle of my cake board, and then give it a little pat down so that it's not going to go anywhere. Next up, it is time to fill with buttercream. So when you're using buttercream, you want to make sure that it is really soft, you know, like this. Really beautiful and light. If it's really stiff, it's going to be so hard to ice your cake with. You're going to pull up loads and loads of crumbs. So I like to put a nice big blob of icing on top. Grab my palette knife, and I'm smushing to the sides of the cake. And then you just want to level it off. If you've got one of these little cranked palette knives, they are the best tool for doing this because you can get it nice and flat. And of course, as you can see, I'm using my turntable a lot as well. You can actually get all the tools that you need for this over on CupcakeJemma.com. So head over there, treat yourself, you know, get yourself some nice tools. I'm just going to fill mine with some raspberry goo. I don't really need to show you guys this, but I just thought, I can't have a cake without any raspberry goo in it. So again, just smush this almost to the edge. I don't want it to splurge out though. And then we grab our second layer of cake. And now this is where we need to begin being really careful and attention to detail. We're gonna very lightly line up our second piece of sponge with our first. Now before we push it down, we're gonna spin it around just to make sure it is exactly in line. And then we'll push it gently on the top. And now we're just gonna do the same again, twice more until we get to the top of our cake. Now, as you can see, I flipped over my last bit of cake, so we've got the underside of it on here, and that is because it's already nice and flat and it's not as crumbly as the rest of it is, so it's going to be a lot easier to crumb coat, which is what we're going to do now. And we always crumb coat cakes here so that we lock in all those crumbs so that we have a nice smooth kind of area to work on to get a beautiful finish to our cakes. Now, normally I would use a big palette knife for this, but I actually I'm going to show you how to do it with a small one because I think it is a lot easier, particularly if you've not done it before and your cake is quite crumbly. You get a bit more control. And what we're doing is we're putting on lots of icing to begin with. I'm not worrying about getting it smooth at this stage. I'm simply just piling on that icing. Once you've got all the icing on the sides, we're going to dollop some on top. Smush that to the edges just so the whole cake is covered, and then we're actually going to scrape quite a lot of this off. So now I'm moving to my trusty cake smoother, best tool in the kitchen, simple, cheap, little bit of plastic, but it works wonders. So I'm going to very gently pop it against the side of my cake, and I'm smoothing, I'm not scraping. So as you can see, I've got the smoother kind of stroking it, not like this and scraping, we're like this and smoothing. Every time you've smoothed off a little bit, we wipe off the excess that's not going back on the cake, and just very gently and lightly smoothing off. Ta-da! So when you're doing this, you want to apply the same amount of pressure all the way across your smoother so that it's very kind of vertical. I think that's the word, Sally. And once your sides are smooth, we can then move on to the top. So all we need to do now is pull in these kind of raggedy edges that are sticking up proud of our cake, and we're going to come to one edge with the smoother and cut it into the center like that. And that is how you get this beautiful sharp corner. That looks pretty good to me. Now, this is going to go into the fridge for about 30 minutes or until the icing is no longer sticky and it's quite firm to press. That's going to give us a really beautiful base to do our top coat on, which we're going to do in the exact same way, icing the sides, then the top. We're going to smooth it off to get a really sharp cake. Now for stenciling, we want this to be cold so that the stencil doesn't just stick to the buttercream. So we're going to go back into the fridge for another 30 minutes or again until it is no longer sticky. Okay, so again, I've got a nice cold, firm cake, which means that our stencil is not going to get stuck to it. Now, stencils you can buy all over the internet. You can get so many amazing designs. I love these kind of fancy ones. I think they kind of look a little bit like wallpaper. Not that I actually have anything like this in my house, but if you do, then I bet it looks fabulous. So what we need to do first is attach the stencil to our cake. So I'm going to put it on. And now we're just going to attach one side first. Now I like to do this with pins, so some little pins like this, just because they leave the smallest of marks, but cocktail sticks will do the job just fine. So we're going to take one pin and push it all the way through just to attach it to the cake. And then we'll do the top of this side as well. So again, find a small hole near the top, push it in, and that'll hold the stencil on. Now what we're going to do is we're actually going to apply a little bit of pressure as we pull the stencil around the cake, because we want the stencil to be really flush against the side of our cake so that there's not a big kind of baggy gap between them. And again, just make sure that it is nice and even. Now that you've got your nice sharp straight cake, I know it's going to look perfect, and we'll just attach the other side, so one at the top that, and one down the bottom. You might want to get someone to help you with this. Yesterday I had Nikki holding it while I was icing it. Get your friends involved. So now it is the fun part. So I'm going to go with pink icing. So I'm just going to show you the basic kind of technique to this. Later we're going to get a bit creative. Pink and green, they're like two of my favorite colors. So just like icing a cake, but over the stencil. So grab your little palette knife and we're just going to cover the stencil. Now you may have noticed that we've got a bit of a hole at the back of the cake where the stencil doesn't quite reach. Don't worry, I'm going to show you how to fill that. If you were going to be doing loads of these, then you might want to buy two of the same stencils and you could do the whole thing at once, but I don't have to, so I'm going to show you how to fix it. Anyway, we're going to smooth off some of this icing again so it does look nice and smooth with my scraper here. We're going to smooth it out, and you can start to see the kind of pattern of the stencil showing through. That's about the amount of icing that you want, so just keep on smoothing it off until you can see it all. Now it is time for the big reveal. So you want to do this nice and slowly and carefully, don't get overexcited. Make sure you hold on to your stencil as you pull out the 2 pins from one side, and then we get peeling. Does it look cool? Oh my God, it looks so cool. Look. So beautiful. And then when you get to the end, just pull out your 2 pins and take off your stencil. So cute. It is like super fancy looking, but it was like the easiest thing in the world to achieve. But as I said, we've got this little hole here that we need to fix. So we're going to fill, oh, that's really sticky. We're going to fill it, but what we're going to do is pop this back into the fridge so that we can pop the stencil on without smushing our beautiful design. So, sorry guys, back to the fridge. All right, so now we can get on and fill our little hole here. So we, like I said, want to make sure this is nice and cold so that we don't ruin our beautiful design. And what we're going to do is attach one edge of our stencil and then line it up with where your design kind of finishes. So grab our pin, pop that in there, and again in the top. And we're going to just attach it where you can see your stencil joining. And it might feel a little bit scary because you've got this dangling off, but you really don't want to kind of wrap that around your cake. You could get a friend again to hold this here for you, but trust me, it's all okay. So exactly the same, grab your icing and we're just going to fill the remaining bit. What I would say is try not to go over the section that you've already done, just in the gaps that are missing. And then again, grab the smoother and just smooth out this section. And remember, there's always going to be a back to your cake. So where it joins, that can be the back. Don't freak out about this. So then we can take out our pins and peel it off. I think that actually looks pretty neat, and I don't think you can really tell where that join is. Now one thing I'm just going to mention, because I can see it and I didn't see it on the first round, if you have some little bits poking up like this, we can just pull them in, swipe them across the top, because what we're going to do now is just finish this cake off with a few extra icing blobbies. So I've got a piping bag here with a closed star nozzle. Let's put my remaining pink icing into it. Squish it all down. And I'm just going to do a nice ring all the way around the top. Now, I just think that looks so beautiful. And if you gave this cake to somebody, they would have no idea how you did it. And between you and me, we know that it's actually really easy. Now, this is your kind of like basic stencil, but there are so many cool things you can do. And I'm about to show you just a few of my favorite things, like this one, which I did earlier. Now, how awesome is this beautiful rainbow design? And for this, it is again really, really simple. What you want to do first is mix up your 6 colors for your rainbow, and then you're going to apply your stencil in exactly the same way, fixing it on with your pins. And then you're going to apply each color one at a time, trying really hard not to smush them together too much as you go. And grab back your cake smoother and smooth back the icing until you can see the pattern in your stencil. Again, carefully remove your pins and reveal this beautiful rainbow design. To finish this one off, I've just popped all my colors into piping bags and I've piped on a really cute little rainbow design on top of my cake. Pretty awesome, right? And I love the kind of flower design with the rainbow. It's got this kind of flower power vibe to it. But if you want to get a little bit more fancy, how about some gold? Now, I know exactly which one Dane Pemberton would choose, and he would obviously choose this because he would spray everything with gold if he could. So for this one, you want to apply your stencil in exactly the same way, add your buttercream over the stencil and then smooth it off. But before you remove your stencil, grab your gold spray and give it a couple of coats so that it really pops. For this one, I've added buttercream blobs to the top, but I finished it with some gold sprayed meringues. I love this one, but there is one more that I love even more, and it is this. It is so pretty and it looks really, really fancy, but that's just because I've started this one on a marbled cake. But this time I'm only icing little sections of the stencils rather than the whole thing, and I'm using a couple of different colors to do this. Now, because this is my favorite, I gave it the full works with sections of white chocolate drip in between the stencil designs. And then I've used a selection of piping nozzles, such as a rose nozzle, a small round nozzle, and a couple of French stars to create this really cute piped effect. And of course, I'm going to top it off with some pink meringues. Now this is definitely my favorite. Let me know which one you love in the comments box below. And of course, remember to keep sharing your photos with us over on Instagram, because I really want to see what designs you come up with. And actually, whilst I was doing this, I realized there's a few other things I'd love to show you, like just the marble effect on this cake. I don't think we've ever shown you how to do that. It's really easy, but it looks really beautiful as well. So keep letting us know what you want to see here on the channel, and we will do our best to deliver. And now Easter is just around the corner, which for me, it only means one thing, and that is mini eggs. Mini eggs are everywhere right now. And of course, Dane and I have come up with a mini egg New York cookie for you guys. So we'll be back next week with that, unless we eat all the mini eggs beforehand, which it might happen, but I'll try and save a few. So we'll be back next week. Have a fabulous week. Make sure that you follow us, subscribe, and also if you want to come and join our bake club, I'll put full descriptions on how to do everything in the description box below. See you next week, guys.